You know who it is, and you know what time it is. Time to piss off some feminists, trad cucks, and whoever don't want to know the truth. Oh well, let's get started.
What is going on, gents? It's R.P.M. here, reporting from Mobile Command with this week's rant. Gentlemen, I saw this on Facebook. At first, I thought it was like a rage bait article, but then I actually had to go and take a deeper dive. Why? Because the women in the comment section were in such agreement with this. So I knew at that point, you know what? This might not be a rage bait article. So yes, I took a deeper dive, and gentlemen, if this passes in France, you can go ahead and say this will be the end of marriage. Now, this article was published on the 28th of January. France moves to abolish the concept of marital duty to have sex. Yeah. Drink it in, gentlemen. Drink it in. Let this wave just wash over you. Now, before I go any further, the bill still requires approval by the French Senate to become a final law. France is to enshrine in law the end of so-called quote-unquote conjugal rights. The notion that marriage means a duty to have sex. Now, of course, you know exactly who's driving this. The French feminists. Yeah. So now, my body, my choice is going to be brought into marriage. Gentlemen, your wallet, your choice. Now, let's be perfectly clear about something. Yes, ladies, your body, your choice. No one can make you do anything. However, when it comes to marriage and the unspoken contract within marriage, because let's be completely honest about this, gentlemen, men get married because they want to have that one exclusive sexual partner that we are willing to actually take care of and provide for. So, what this proposed law is going to do, it's going to completely kill that unspoken rule. The covenant will be broken by French law if it passes. So, in my humble opinion, marriage in France, if this passes, should absolutely crater. Men should go ahead, get divorced, and never get married in France. Yeah, basically, this law is saying, okay, we're going to impose a sexless marriage on every married man in France. Nope, nope, nope. A bill approved on Wednesday in the National Assembly adds clause to the country's civil code to make it clear that, quote unquote, community in living does not create, quote unquote, an obligation for sexual relations. The proposed law also makes it impossible to use lack of sexual relations as an argument in fault-based divorce. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to make all marriage in France sexless by law. Hopefully, the French men will just go ahead and say, okay, cool. Since we control marriage, we're no longer going to marry. Cool. Let the French people die out. Though unlikely to have a major impact in courts, supporters hope the law will deter marital rape. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Once again, consent. Here's basically what this law is going to simply say. Marriage is no longer implied consent. Quote unquote. By allowing such a right or duty to persist, we are collectively giving our approval to a system of domination and predation by husband on wife, said the bill's sponsor, Green MP Marie Charlotte Guerin. I find it very rich that so many other societies have taken on what I'm going to call the black clause when it comes to marriage. Yeah. Black women were the ones who always said marriage equals slavery. Mm-hmm. Now let's go ahead, and be clear about something. Every culture, every society that has taken on the perfected form of feminism is crashing and burning. Now, why do I say the perfected form of feminism? Once again, you got to look at the American Black community. The American Black community was the test bed, was the experiment, was the canary in the coal mine for feminism. They saw how it absolutely destroyed the American Black community. So, with a few tweaks, it got sent out to every other community, every other culture. And the ones, especially the ones that were in alliance with America through treaties, trade, or in some cases that surrendered to America, Japan, yeah, they got the perfected form of feminism. Mm-hmm. And that's why certain cultures are literally dying. Yeah, they're dying out. They would rather die out than fight feminism. Yeah, because they know if they fight feminism in their country, here comes America. Honestly, how America destroyed the world. Not through war, through women. Marriage cannot be a bubble in which consent to sex is regarded as definition or definitive and for life. However, that man's protection and provision are there for the duration of the marriage and even afterwards in the form of alimony. I forget who said this, but a man's duty in marriage can literally be held or upheld, by the gun of the state, while a woman's duties within marriage are merely a suggestion. It was James Sexton who said that. Yeah. Let me say that one more again. A man's marital duties, even after his wife leaves through alimony, can be upheld by the gun of the state, while her duties are nothing more than a suggestion. Currently, let me go back. The law will erase an ambiguity that has persisted despite there being no explicit mention of quote unquote conjugal duty in any legal text. Yeah, once again, that is the unspoken contract between a husband and wife. Currently, the French Civil Code defines the duties of marriage as respect, fidelity, support, and assistance. But see right there, fidelity. Yes, ladies. Yeah. And it says that couples commit themselves to a quote unquote community of living. Nowhere in the text is there any mention of conjugal, i.e., sexual rights. The origins of that notion lie in medieval church law. However, judges in normal modern divorce suits have, from time to time, given a broad interpretation to the concept of community of living to include sexual relations. In a famous case in 2019, a woman was found to have withheld sex from her husband for several years, and he was granted a fault-based divorce, implying guilt on her part. Yes, he should have gotten a divorce. See, this is why so many men here in America continue to live in sexless, dead marriages. Why? Because they so fear the gun of the state, especially if they have material property. That's what they're more afraid of losing than anything. Which is why, in my humble case, I never bought a house. I kept my belongings to the barest of bare minimums. Yeah, shit that I could say, you know what, cool. I'm cool with losing this. That's that. But most men, no, they wrap their identity up within their marriage and their material possessions, which is why so many of those men refuse to get divorced, even though they know they should. So what do? Complain. Why don't you get a fucking divorce? Man, I don't want to lose my shit. I don't want to give her half my shit. Dude, it doesn't matter. You're going to be at fault regardless. No fault divorce, you're still stuck with the fucking bill. And that's the thing, a lot of men don't want to pay that bill. But the woman who then took her case to the European Court of Human Rights, which last year condemned France for allowing the refusal of sex to be grounds for a fault-based divorce. This was hailed as an important advance by feminist campaigners. I have to ask this question, as rhetorical as it is, and I do know the answer, but I gotta ask it anyway. How in the hell did we create a world that is so afraid of feminists that societies are literally willing to go extinct rather than to fight against it? Just saying. The ECHR's decision has made it, in practice, impossible for any French divorce judge to make a similar ruling. Once again, locking a man into a completely and totally sexless marriage. Which is why the new law is mainly intended as a clarification, with the change unlikely to have a major impact on the courts. For campaigners, the notion that wives have a duty to agree to sex with their husbands is one that persists in parts of society and needs to be confronted. Then they talk about the Mazan trial, where a woman was unfortunately drugged and rendered unconscious by her husband, who had a lot of men have their way with her, which I will say, yes, that guy was a piece of shit. He should not have done that. However, they're going way too far with this. In France, as in most other countries, marital rape is now enshrined in law, where prior to 1990, men could argue that marriage implied consent. What I said earlier. Since November of last year, the legal definition of rape in France has also expanded to include the notion of non-consent. Yeah. Previously, rape was defined as a sexual act carried out with violence, constraint, threat, or surprise. Now it is any act where there is no quote-unquote informed, specific, anterior, or revocable consent. Silence or absence of reaction does not imply consent, the law says. Well. Once again, if this passes, every married man in France will literally be forced into a sexless marriage. So hopefully the French men will actually say, okay, cool, we're no longer going to get married. I mean, hell, the way that they said that DNA tests are against the law in France, that should have absolutely cratered the birth rate. This right here should absolutely crater the marital rate. Now, of course, when I saw this on Facebook, the women in the comment section were all jumping for joy. Yes, finally, go France. However, the men were like, well, okay, cool. Your body, your choice. My wallet, my choice. Simple as that. There you go, ladies. Y'all can put all these laws into place, but eventually it's going to hurt you further down the line. But you know what? These women have only been taught to be happy for the present day victory. So yeah, ladies, you constantly win a series of battles, but overall, we men are going to win the long game. We're going to win the war. Sometimes, not going to lie, sometimes I just hope the gender war goes physical. It goes hot once and for all. We kick the shit out of women and put them back in their place. But then again, that's too easy. Right now, I'm enjoying the slow burn. I truly am. We ain't got to go ahead and get physical with them. Why? Because life is going to teach them regardless. Well, I've rambled on long enough. Read the full article. Let me know what you guys think. And to you women out there who think that you're going to get married just so you can have a man to continue to take care of you, while at the same time you deny him sex, you better understand this. And you better understand this crystally, and I mean crystally clear. The power you think you have in withholding sex from a man, that always goes out. Feminism and this particular law that France is trying to pass, and the idea that men are going to willingly become eunuchs in their own marriage, that's going to go out right along with it. Because yeah, if and when this passes, you can go ahead and say that's going to be the complete and total end to marriage. It is what it is. That's all I got to say for this one. R.P.M. I am